At some point, you reached out for support, for someone to believe in what you were doing, or just to not feel so alone in it, and what you found was nothing. Not rejection, not cruelty, just silence where something was supposed to be. That specific feeling, reaching and finding nothing, is what this video is about. What it does to you scientifically, what the wisest minds in history found inside it, and what the research says actually helps. Let's get into it. Let's start with what the science actually says happens to you when you carry something without anyone helping you carry it. Because most people assume the answer is simple. You struggle more, you feel worse. You get through it slower, and that's true. But it's only half the picture. The other half is more interesting. Researchers have known for decades that social support acts as what psychologists call a stress buffer. When you face something hard and someone is beside you, even just someone who believes in you, your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal system, the part of your brain that manages your stress response, stays calmer. Your cortisol levels, your primary stress hormone, stay lower. Your nervous system gets the signal. You are not alone in this threat. But when that support isn't there, the signal your body receives is different. It's not just, this is hard. It's, this is hard, and you're handling it alone. And your brain, which hasn't evolved much since we lived in tribes, treats that signal almost like a physical danger. Dr. Stephen Cole at UCLA found that people experiencing chronic lack of support show measurable changes in gene expression, specifically genes related to inflammation and immune function. Your body, at a biological level, responds to unsupported struggle the way it responds to a physical wound. So if you've been carrying something alone and you feel exhausted in a way that goes beyond tired, that's not weakness. That's your biology responding to something real. The question isn't whether it costs you something. It does. The question is, what happens next? I want to slow down here for a moment because there's a specific kind of pain that doesn't get named enough. It's not the pain of being alone. Plenty of people are alone and feel completely fine. It's the pain of reaching out and finding nothing. That gap between the moment you extended your hand and the moment you realized nothing was coming back. That specific gap does something to a person. Psychologist John Bowlby, whose attachment theory became one of the most important frameworks in modern psychology, found that humans are wired from birth to reach for connection when under stress. It's not a choice, it's not neediness, it's biology. When we're overwhelmed, the attachment system activates. We reach. And when the reach is met with warmth, the system calms. When the reach finds nothing, the system doesn't just stay activated. Over time, it starts to recalibrate. It starts to learn reaching doesn't work. And that recalibration, that quiet shift where a person starts to stop reaching, is one of the most psychologically significant things that can happen to someone. Not because reaching less is always wrong, but because sometimes people stop reaching for connection altogether. And that's where the real cost lives. So if you've been in that place, if you've reached for support and found nothing enough times that you stopped reaching, this video is asking you to hold that awareness gently. Not to judge it, just to see it, because what we do with that pattern is the whole story. Here's where the research takes a turn that most people don't expect. In the 1990s, psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun started studying people who had been through serious adversity, loss, illness, isolation, failure. They expected to find trauma, and they did find trauma. But they also found something else, something they hadn't fully anticipated. A significant number of people, not all, but many, reported coming out of their hardest periods with something they didn't have before, not in spite of the struggle. Because of it, Tedeschi and Calhoun called it post-traumatic growth, and what they found wasn't just resilience, the ability to bounce back to who you were. It was transformation, becoming someone your previous self couldn't have been. They identified 5 specific areas where this growth showed up: a deeper appreciation for life, Stronger, more authentic relationships, even if fewer of them. A clearer sense of personal strength. A new possibilities that only opened because the old ones closed. And something harder to define. A kind of spiritual or philosophical depth. A feeling that you understand something about life now that you couldn't have understood any other way. Now here's the part that matters for this video. Tedeschi's research found that this growth was more likely in people who had to process their experience largely on their own. Not because struggle alone is good, but because being forced inward, being forced to sit with yourself without someone else framing the experience for you, sometimes creates something that external support, paradoxically, can prevent. The neuroscience supports this too. Dr. Bruce Perry at the Child Trauma Academy found that the brain's capacity for neuroplasticity, its ability to literally rewire itself, is activated most powerfully under conditions of meaningful challenge, not comfortable challenge, real challenge, the kind that makes you reach inside because there's nowhere else to reach. This is not a reason to celebrate suffering. Please hear that clearly. Lack of support is hard. It costs you. That's real, but inside that cost, science has found something that cannot be manufactured any other way. Carl Jung spent decades studying the human psyche. And one of the central ideas he kept returning to, one that took him his whole career to fully articulate, was something he called individuation. Individuation for Jung was the process of becoming fully and authentically yourself. Not the self that other people shaped, not the self that formed to fit what was expected, but the self that exists underneath all of that, the real one. And what Jung found and wrote about with unusual honesty was that this process almost always requires a period of aloneness, not forever, not as a permanent state, but a period where external voices go quiet and something internal gets the chance to speak. He wrote in the Red Book, "Why are you looking around for help? Do you believe that help will come from outside? What is to come is created in you and from you." He wasn't saying other people don't matter. Jung was clear that we grow through relationship too, but he was saying something specific and honest. There is a part of your development that no one else can do for you. That part requires you to be alone with yourself long enough to hear what's actually there. Marcus Aurelius understood this from a completely different angle. He was a Roman emperor, one of the most powerful men in the ancient world. He lost 10 of his 13 children. He ruled an empire under constant threat, constant pressure, while studying philosophy and writing private notes to himself that he never intended anyone to read. Those notes became meditations. One of the most read books in human history, written by a man who processed almost everything, alone. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." And elsewhere, more quietly, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. What's remarkable about placing these two thinkers side by side, Jung the psychologist, Aurelius the philosopher king, is that they arrived at the same place from completely different directions. 2,000 years apart. Different methods, different languages, different worlds. Both saying the strength you're looking for outside of you is actually being built inside you by the very experience of not finding it outside. Science is now confirming what they each intuited: post-traumatic growth research, neuroplasticity, attachment theory. They're all pointing to the same convergence, that the human being is capable of something that only gets unlocked under a specific kind of pressure. The pressure of having to become your own support. I want to be careful here, because this video is not making the argument that you should be alone, or that needing support is weakness, or that suffering is secretly good for you. None of that is true, and none of that is what the science says. What the science says is more nuanced and more human. It says, if you are in a season of having little support, if reaching out has found nothing or not enough, there are things that genuinely help, not platitudes, not motivation, real things backed by research. The first is meaning. Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, spent years in Nazi concentration camps with every external support stripped away. And what he found, documented in meticulous psychological observation, was that the people who survived psychologically were not necessarily the strongest or the most resilient by nature. They were the ones who found meaning in what they were enduring, not happiness, not positivity. Meaning. Frankl wrote, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how." This isn't philosophy as comfort. This is neuroscience. Research from the University of Michigan found that people who assign meaning to their struggle show lower inflammatory responses, the same biological markers that lack of support raises. Meaning literally changes your body's response to hardship. So the first real question to sit with is, what is this period of your life actually for? Not why did it happen, but what are you building inside it, even if no one is watching, even if no one knows? The second thing that helps is directed solitude. There's a difference between being alone and being productively alone. Jung's individuation process wasn't just sitting in silence. It was active inner work, journaling, reflecting, facing the things inside yourself that the noise of other people's opinions usually drowns out. Research consistently shows that expressive writing honestly about what you're going through, reduces cortisol, improves immune function, and accelerates psychological processing of difficult experiences. Psychologist James Pennebaker at the University of Texas studied this for decades and found that people who wrote honestly about their hardest experiences showed measurable improvements in both mental and physical health within weeks, not months, weeks. You don't need someone to talk to. Sometimes you need somewhere to put it, write it down, all of it, the honest version, not for anyone else, for you. The third thing, and this one comes directly from post-traumatic growth research, is allowing the experience to change you, not fighting to get back to who you were before, but asking, who is this making me? Tedeschi found that the people who grew most were the ones who allowed their assumptions about life to be questioned. The assumption that things will go smoothly, the assumption that people will show up, the assumption that needing support and not finding it means something is wrong with you. When those assumptions crack, and you sit in the crack long enough, something new gets a chance to form. Not a harder person, not a closed person, a deeper one. Someone who knows what they're made of because they had to find out. And the fourth thing, the one both Jung and Aurelius would agree on, is this. Stop waiting for permission to believe in what you're building. Jung wrote, "What is to come is created in you and from you." Aurelius wrote it differently. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Both are saying the same thing in different words. The support you were looking for outside, you have been slowly becoming inside. That's not a consolation. That's the whole point. Having no one is one of the hardest things. Don't let anyone, including this video, convince you otherwise. But the science is clear, and the wisest minds across history agree. There is something that grows in the absence of support that cannot grow any other way, not despite the hardship. Inside it, your brain is rewiring right now. Your sense of self is being built right now. The version of you that comes out the other side of this is being shaped right now, in the quiet moments when nobody is watching and you keep going anyway. That matters. You matter. And the fact that you're still here, still searching, still trying to understand yourself, that's not small. That's everything. If this video reached something real in you, share it with someone who might need it. And if you want to keep going deeper into understanding yourself and others with honesty and science, subscribe to Between Thoughts. This is exactly what we're here for. Take care of yourself.